guys, how you going today on BKRsport? Well, baby, we are here. Yes, we are here for the season's prediction video for 2024. This is going to be a super controversial video, as it always is. Now, usually I go down to a stadium, but at Seabuster Stadium right now, it is just absolutely chock-a-block with them, getting the stadium ready for the champions of 2024, the Gold Coast Titans. Now, obviously, I'll be going through all 17 teams today and ranking them from 17 all the way up to 1 to see what I believe the ladder will be like in 2024. Now, I will say, guys, you will disagree with this. It is a fact. You will disagree with it, and especially if I put your team out of the top 8, you're probably going to be upset. But the fact of the matter is, it's just my opinion. Comment below. And also, I'm a Titans fan. I'm never predicting my team out of the 8, son, and I can't wait for the tears, because I'm telling you right now, I'm always going to go into a year back on my team. But let's get into it. This is my predictions for 2024, baby. Let's get on. So keen. In number 17, I think I should look quite sad right now, but I don't know if it's a cop-out. I don't think it's a cop-out, especially after their trial form. I'm taking the West Tigers, man. I am. I'm taking the West Tigers. They haven't looked good. They haven't really improved. We're looking for 2025 onwards when they get Jerome Luai, and maybe they can start building themselves up to be a competitive team again. I'm sorry, Tigers fans. I know that means you do the three-peat. You go back to back to back with spoons. But I just can't see you getting enough wins this year over the rest of the competition, man. So, although you've got some great players there, at the end of the day, I just don't think that it's a balanced team. There's too many forwards compared to the backs, and then in the trials as well, I didn't really get to see a great deal of the forwards either. So, unfortunately, Tigers, you are at the fresh start of a fresh start. It's looking exciting in the future for you. Just not in 2024, unfortunately. Number 16 would have previously been Spooners, but obviously, with there being 17 teams now, they will avoid it this year. It's the St. George Illawarra Dragons. I think that they're going to struggle again. I don't think that there is a great deal of quality in their team. I actually think I look at the Tigers, and I think they've actually got probably individually more star players. But with that being said, the Dragons are just a consistent team. They're a fresh start as well with Shane Flanagan, and I think that they will be better than what people expect them to be. And I'm definitely not just going based off of one trial against the Tigers. Like, I don't really care about that. But at the end of the day, the Dragons just always find a way to avoid that spoon. But I don't think they'll be too far up from there. So I'll put them at 16th, and unlucky Dragons fans. But hopefully, Flanagan does start to change the team around and you come further into the future. Number 15, we go down to the cold place of Australia. We go to Canberra, where I think their team is going to be quite cold this year. They have lost Jackie Whiten, who was a big part of their team, and they just don't have a great deal of star talent. They've got a massive forward pack, a really, really great forward pack. But as we've seen with the Tigers last year, you can have an incredible forward pack, but if you don't have the backs to match, then unfortunately you're going to struggle. And I do think that Canberra can be better than obviously coming in last place. I do think they've still got a couple players here and there, but overall, I just don't see them scoring enough tries this year to win as many games to get them up into that competitive battle for the 8. But I will say that anyone through 1 through 15, you can actually make an argument to make the 8. I won't lie to you. You could still make an argument that Ricky Stewart gets this Canberra Raiders team up. They're grindy, very much like last year, where they win games 1 to 12, but they can get blown out in losses. But overall, this team, yeah, they're a really confusing one where you could definitely make an argument for Ricky Stewart and the Raiders to maybe scrape into the 8 like they did last year. But overall, I'm not going to be backing that in, and I'll say that comparatively to the teams above them, they will probably struggle more often than not this year. Number 14, rounding out the strugglers this year, and this is going to hurt a fan base, man. This is going to hurt a fan base. I am putting the Canterbury Bulldogs here, and I won't lie to you, I was considering putting them into 16th. I thought that the trials were awful. I think that they have not really improved in positions of need. They continue to sign positions of want rather than need. And then in the positions of need, they'll go and sign guys like, with all due respect, my boy Toby Sexton, Drew Hutchison, and the likes, right? I still don't really believe Matty Burton is a 5'8", but he's the best 5'8" the club's got currently. And I still don't really know what their back line's looking like. I still think they're going to give up quite a few tries this year defensively. Their forward pack's a little bit too small for mine. So I do actually think that they could finish lower than this. But again, there is still an argument that they could push up the table as well. I just don't think there's any consistency here. I do think they'll struggle, and it'll be interesting to see kind of how Cameron Ciraldo goes with all the pressure, because the Bulldogs fans, if they don't like you, they will tell you. And Cameron Ciraldo, despite the fact that they'll support him now, they may start to really lose their faith in him the longer the season goes. Moving out of the bottom 4 now into the, battlers and the competitive spots for the top 8, we do have the Redcliffe Dolphins. And this is an interesting one. I think this is based on the fact that I don't think that in their spine is decent. Like, they've got a great fullback in Amiso, and they've got a great hooker in Jeremy Marshall-King. Their forwards are a little bit how you going for mine, and their back line is pacey, but also could be inconsistent. I don't know if Jermaine Sako will back it up again, because we have seen in the past be good and then not be good, you know what I'm saying? Overall, they've brought in Happy Farmworth, which was great, but this team did also kind of struggle to a depth development squad of the Titans in the off-season, so in the trials. So I do worry about what their depth could be. I do worry about kind of the consistency here. And obviously, they are changing from Wayne Bennett to Christian Wolf pretty much this season. Next year is when Christian Wolf officially takes over, but this is like an interlude. This is like a changing of the guard. So it'll be interesting to see if Wolf is more implementing his tactics now in, ahead of next year, and how much Wayne Bennett will actually have an impact on the direction. I know he's going to be significant, but I'm just saying it is a little bit of a confusing time here at the Dolphins. So I do have them above the teams below them, but it's just consistency that I don't know we'll see in 2024. Number 12, maybe one people disagree with, but again, all these teams have an argument for the 8, and I feel like this year is probably the toughest, and everyone says this all the time, but I do feel like this year is tougher than last year in regards to the teams that could make it into the 8 and competitive for the 8, and it's really, really difficult to kind of piece this one together. We're all going to be wrong, doing our best here, but I am taking the North Queensland Cowboys in this situation just because I do think that there is a bit of a lack of cohesion in this Cowboys squad right now, and they're in kind of lieu of moving into the next stage of what this team could look like, and I think that Toddy Payton is going to initiate that this year. You've got Chatty Townsend, who might be obviously moving on. You've got Tommy Dearden potentially going to the 7, Jake Clifford potentially going to the 6. You've got a great fullback in Scotty Drinkwater. The back line can be quite inconsistent. I can't believe what we saw from Valentine Holmes recently. And the forwards are solid for sure, but I don't think there's a great deal of personally game-winning forwards overall. Jeremiah Nene had a great individual season, hasn't really been able to kick on from there. They do have Ruben Cotter, they do have Reece Robson and Tamalolo, but Tamalolo, his best years seem to be behind him. They use him really differently. So for me, I just don't know if I can back them in above these other teams. I feel like I need to see them into the season to really get a grasp about where this team is at overall. So could I see them in the 8? Yes. Could I see them high in the 8? Probably not. But I definitely can see them still competing for the 8 despite finishing in 12. In number 11, I do have the Newcastle Knights here, a team that obviously did play well last year. In the second half though, the first half of the season, they struggled massively as they were trying to find their feet. The second half, Kalen Pond came back, they put him in the fullback and he absolutely tore it up. Braden Best tore it up. The halves worked and it was a surprise package. The Knights surprised everyone. And I think that you see with a lot of these surprise teams that they do fall off the next year because they've got the expectations now rather than the Queensland mentality that we always go by of, shocking the opponent, being the underdog and finding a way to prove everybody wrong. Now that the Knights did prove everybody wrong, you look at their team and you think, I'm not exactly a great deal excited, and I don't know if they're able to have that massive run of that massive, amount of... It was 10 games in a row. It was crazy. I don't know if they'll be able to do that again personally. So I could easily eat my words here. This team could easily go on a run at some stage and prove everyone wrong, especially if it's the second half of the season. They're struggling and then everyone's kind of shitting on them and they just come home strong. I could see that, absolutely. But for the time being, going into the season, I do think there are better teams around. Number 10. The teams that are so damn well close to making the 8. And this one is a controversial one. I am going to the Parramatta Eels. I'm going to Parramatta Eels here. I don't know. I just don't know. The Eels team is the peak of inconsistency. This Eels team has felt like it's there without being there. Even in the grand final a couple of years ago, they were there without kind of being there. I just don't know how to gather this team. They've got some quality players. They've got a great forward pack. They've got some great halves. They've got a bit of an issue in the hooker department, but their back line is, serviceable for sure. I can't get a read on Parramatta any year, every year. They are the definition of inconsistent. And there are a lot of teams that are inconsistent, but this team just finds a way to struggle. And overall, this could be a real changing year for Parramatta where they realise they have to really adapt a new style and go in a new direction, whether that means Brad Arthur goes or that means they go in a completely different direction with the team itself. I'm not too sure. Maybe a similar situation here with the Cowboys. Parramatta and North Queensland could be in a similar situation. But I do think the Parramatta do have the better players on the field that should be able to get it done more so than the Cowboys. That's why I've got them above them. But yeah, very intriguing. interesting. As we were talking about on the stream the other day, the Eels are a team that don't have a great deal of depth right now. So, you know, you get one injury and they kind of fall down to a place like this. Mitchell Moses, Dylan Brown, you know, Clint Gutho kind of deal. The replacements aren't exactly at the level of the NRL just yet, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's actually the same position that they came last year. They came 10th last year. For me, come 10th this year. It'll be interesting to see how they go. Number 9, so close yet so far, the Manly Seagulls. I'm actually quite excited about seeing Manly this year. I'm concerned, but I'm excited. I'm concerned that obviously, touch wood, Tommy Trbojevic, he does have an injury problem. I'm not sitting here disrespecting that, saying, oh, this guy just always gets injured. I'm not here to do that, but I am going to lay out the facts and say that he is injured quite consistently, right? And he is a major, major part of this Manly team. They've got Cherry Evans there. They've got Luke Brooks. That's a decent halves pairing. I think Luke Brooks can take it up at a level and go back to, I guess, 2018 kind of form that he had with the Tigers. But overall, and Lachlan Croker's fine, but overall, I do think that this team could still be under misdirection from Anthony Seibold. Not a big fan of Anthony Seibold. And I guess that if it was a different coach, if they still had Desi Hasler, for example, I would be putting them into the 8. I would. But I do think that one injury, whether it be to Cherry Evans, whether it be to Luke Brooks, or whether it be to Tom Trbojevic, they are in quite a situation, Manly, and they're under, I just don't believe in the leadership, right? They're under pretty poor leadership, in my personal opinion. So prove me wrong, Seibold. Prove me wrong, Manly. Excited to see you guys this year, but I think that I just need a little bit more of a guarantee from the coach. Hey guys, guess what? We got to the stage where, guess where the Titans finish? Because I know you guys are waiting for that one, but don't worry, that'll come a little bit later on in the video. Number 8 here, we have the Cronulla Shaggies. I have got them in the 8. Now, this is a very confusing one because this team should be a top 4 team with the names on paper. They've got a great backline of William Kennedy, Sione Katoa, Ronaldo Montalvo, Jesse Ramian, Siasi Talakai, and the Indigenous halves from the All-Stars game of Braden Trindle and Nico Hines. The forward pack, though, is the interesting one. The forward pack isn't exactly something that terrifies you. Britt Nakora, great back rower. Dal Finucane, Cameron McInnes, really solid defensively and make a whole bunch of tackles. Not a great deal of attack out of the 13 there, which is kind of what you want to see. You really want to see nowadays that 13 being, oh, he's a part of the spine. It is, it's part of the spine. Overall, it's just like it is missing something, the Sharks. The Sharks are missing something. I definitely think it's the defense for sure, but there's just something in the team that irks me a little bit, and I want the Sharks to do well for my mum, but I do think they deserve to be in the top 8 this year with their team on paper. My personal belief, Nico Hines should be a 6, while somebody else should be a 7, whether that be Trindle or not. My personal belief is Nico Hines is 6. You don't necessarily want your whole team to revolve around him, but I do think that he's still one of the best players in the game. Controversial opinion, maybe, but at the end of the day, I've got the Sharks in the 8. They could finish higher. They could drop out of the 8, but overall, I think they deserve to be put into the 8 preseason-wise. In number 7, wow, they're not here yet. The Melbourne Storm. The Melbourne Storm do get into the top 8. Now, this is quite low for what you would expect for the Melbourne Storm, to be honest with you. I do see quite a few people tipping them out of the 8. Last year, I had that problem, lads, so don't worry, I feel ya. But last year, I tipped them to come 9th, and obviously, they still finished in the top 4. I guess the similar concerns are going to be there, but that's why this time I still bump them into the 8 because I had the same concerns. They proved me wrong, so I've got to bump them back in there. They've got the best spine of the comp for mine. I do think overall, collectively, their spine is better than Penrith's, but outside of their spine, it is quite weak, and that's in the back line and in the forward line, right? So I think their spine really hoists them up, and there is every chance that this team could come second. There is every chance this team could get the minor premiership. There's every chance, but I just am concerned that maybe, this is Craig Bellamy's last year too, like they should be decent for him. They really should kind of get it going for him, but I just can't back it. I can't. So I've got them in the 8. Like, don't get me wrong, I've got them in the 8. I just think that there'll be quite a few losses with the wins this year. They'll get in, maybe still get past week 1, but overall, Storm are in the 8. Number 6. I don't know what the reaction's going to be to this one. I really don't know what the reaction's going to be to this one. I've got the New Zealand Warriors. A lot of people are predicting them to drop out of the 8. I think I've been impressed with their trial form. I've been impressed with the inclusion of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, who you guys know I've doubted for a little bit now, saying he wasn't that great in rugby union. It's not the same Roger from before, but the trials have kind of proven otherwise to that and shown that he is actually still a very, very quality player. And overall, the biggest issue with this one is that if Shaun Johnson doesn't perform at the same standards that he did in 2023, this Warriors team will drop off. Warriors fans, I hate to say this to you, I hate to break it to you, but the depth is not crazy. It's not fantastic in that position, and it's a concern going forward into the years. But if Shaun Johnson does have a year like last year with that forward pack and with that back line, I could definitely see them into the top 4. But I have to bring them down lower on the basis that, 1, there is the injury concern for Shaun Johnson at his age, and also 2, the consistency to be able to do it again. Again, that's kind of a surprise factor last year. A lot of people, my boy Clarkey, I even said the same thing, that I thought that Shaun Johnson was going to finish up last year. Clarkey said that he'd finish up the New South Wales Cup, which is probably not the right thing to say. But overall, the same concerns are there, but they proved us wrong. So I still have to have them in the 8, and I still have them in a pretty good position in my personal opinion. Number 5. Wow, he hasn't selected them yet. Wow, I'm going South Sydney Rabbitohs. Wow, you guys are fuming right now. You're fuming right now. Oh no. We've got South Sydney Rabbitohs here in 5th position. I think South Sydney absolutely could come minor premiers. They could win the comp this year. They've got a great team on paper, but we all saw what happened last year, and they did have a massive drop-off halfway through the season. I think they were top of the table after round 11 or round 12, and then won a couple of games to finish off the year. It was awful, and they finished out of the 8. But I do think that their backline, when fully fit, Latrell Mitchell, Tyrone Munro, Alex Johnston, Campbell Graham, Jack Whiten, Cody Walker, and then Lachlan Ilias. Overall, that's an incredible backline. Just the concerns around Lachlan Ilias right now, it's incredible. It's the best backline in the game right now. So when they're all together, fantastic. They'll be flying. However, they've got quite a few injuries to start off the year, which could get them off to a slow start. They obviously play in Vegas. That could impact things. And their forwards are quality, but also missing front rowers. The front rowers are the concern. I want to see Damien Cook get back to his best. The back rowers are fine, great, and the lock is obviously fantastic in Cameron Murray. So this Rabbitohs team has all the potential in the world to come first position. Last year I had them in first. And they completely disappointed me. But there's question marks around Jason Demetrio. There's question marks about Lachlan Ilias. There's question marks about Trell playing fullback. So there is question marks there. I feel like they have to make the 8 for sure. And I could see them higher, but I'll put them into 5th for now. Alright guys, guess who's going in 4th? I'm taking the Gold Coast Titans here, baby. Yeah, I am. Get in the comments section. Baby. Rip into me. Yes, I'm putting myself up for a world of disappointment if it doesn't happen, yeah? I'm going into this season with such high expectations. I believe in this young core, man. I believe in what this team can provide. Desi Hasler comes in for the Gold Coast and is going to lead us to a really good position here. He led the Doggies to I don't know if they won the minor premiership in 2012, but in his first year with the Dogs, he did lead that Dogs team to the grand final and then got him back to the grand final 2 years later. Unfortunately, they lost, but don't worry, Doggies, we'll do it for you this time. Overall, I understand the criticism here. Again, I genuinely believe in this team. I genuinely believe how quality this is. But if you want to obviously ignore it, feel free to. But I'm never going to tip my team out of the 8, and I'm going to absolutely back him in to have even a better season than what I predicted last year, just because I know that this team didn't lose the big games by a great deal last year. Most of the time, they were up. They beat the Broncos last year at Suncorp, mind you. They played very well against the Panthers before obviously falling apart in the end of the last 15 minutes or so. Same thing with the Storm. The Warriors game, where they were a top 4 team, they were down by a man for 60 minutes. The Warriors fans, you know all about this recently. Down by a man for 60 minutes. And were down 18-6, 4 minutes into the second half, and found a way to tie the game up with 5 minutes to go before the boys were too tired, and then got beaten by, I think, 12 points there. Scored 2 late tries there, the Warriors. But overall, against the better teams, they weren't too far off it last year. It's just about kind of closing that gap, getting them fitter for the second halves, and really impressing with this team, because they've got a whole Origin Queensland forward pack there. The back line's quality as well. So feel free to laugh all you want, baby, but I'm going to support my team, and I assume you guys will do the exact same thing for your teams as well. So yeah, take it for what you will, but I'm getting around the Titans, baby. Desi Bomb about to drop. To be fair, I'll take a 5th or 6th, to be honest with you, because I just want a home final. In numero 3. In number 3, we have the Brisbane Broncos. This one was a real topsy-turvy one for me. The Brisbane Broncos are a team that, look, they've lost quite a few players. They've lost Herbie Farnworth, they've lost Thomas Flegler, they've lost Keenan Palacia to the Titans, and they've also lost Kurt Catewell. Now, that is a position in pretty much, or that's a player from pretty much every position, realistically. Adam Reynolds is obviously getting a little bit older. I know he's just signed another contract, but overall, you know, do they have the ability to go on and do it again? I would say yes. Obviously, they were hurt last year. Could they win the comp this year? Yeah, they could. They absolutely could. I do think that I'm going to drop them down a spot simply because they've lost those players, and I could see them dropping down further. But with that being said, I do have the Broncos in third. I've got to give their due respects. I did have them in the 8 last year. A lot of people didn't. I did think I'd put them in 7th or something like that, maybe. But yeah, the Broncos are a team that are a quality team. They've got a good defensive system. It just comes down to the fact that can they bounce back after a really poor loss in the grand final? Because although it wasn't a blowout, it's probably worse than a blowout with how they lost that game, right? So a lot of grand final teams that lose in that big fashion, they do struggle the next year. They may still make the 8, but they struggle the next year. And the Broncos may do that. But I've still got them in a high position. I've still got them in third. They've still got the quality there. You just need Renault to keep kicking on and Reece Walsh not to be distracted by all the little TikTok dances that he does. I don't know if I want to do it. This team never gives me confidence. It never gives me confidence. It's the Sydney Roosters here. The Sydney Roosters never give me confidence putting them up high because they have such a good team on paper, but they always underwhelm. They always underwhelm in recent years. Let's just clarify. In recent years. Now, last year was a weird year because they sucked for the first half, and the second half came home like a train and then lost to the Storm in the last seconds down there in Melbourne in the finals. But the Roosters, for me, they have an incredible backline. And James Tedesco, Joey Suaalii, Joey Manu, Dom Young now from the Knights. You've got such fantastic players there. You've got Sammy Walker and Luke Keary there. Luke Keary's getting on a little bit now. And the forwards are very, very solid and built forwards. So this team has no excuses. So I'm going to rely, Roosters fans, I'm going to put my faith that your team absolutely performs to expectation, because you don't give anyone belief besides your own fans that you're gonna perform to expectation. There is still a few holes in this team, in my personal opinion. I don't know if Brandon Smith has really translated well, which I said was going to happen beforehand, but I will rely upon the expectation this year because there is no excuses. If you fail this year, there should be massive question marks asked. So marks asked. That's a really hard couple of words to say there for me. But Roosters got him in second. Put him anywhere in the 8, but on their expectations. Don't disappoint me, man. Don't disappoint me because I don't like putting you here. Not because I don't like you, just because you never prove the expectations right. And at number 1, you guys know who it is at this point. I think the Penrith Panthers at this point of the season right now are still the favourites for the competition. You know, I think that the only people who are saying the Panthers aren't the favourites for the competition are those that don't like the Penrith Panthers or want to see someone new, so they change it around and say, oh no, this is something that they'll fail in this year. And whilst I respect and I do appreciate that, and I understand that people are sick of saying the same repetitive thing, the fact of the matter is that the WCC doesn't mean jack. You know, that's just a preseason game for the NRL teams. And overall, they probably still should have won it, but we're not going to obviously get into that. Point of the matter is, man, is that the Panthers are still the best team in the comp. And look, Crichton is a big loss. He is the get out of jail free card. He's the guy that can find a play out of nothing. I do think that there is an absolute chance that someone could take over their mantle. If I was to back anybody to do it, funnily enough, would actually be the Storm, who I've got down there in 7th, which is crazy. I just don't know how many other teams I'm willing to... the Storm have proven consistency, right? So they're always kind of there, so they could easily prove me wrong and go up to the top. But this Panthers team still has an electric team. Great forwards, great backline. You know, you lose Stephen Crichton, you got Talon May, you got Suna Taruva, you've got Dylan Edwards there, you've got Brian To'o. They've got such unbelievable players. Nathan Cleary, Jerome Lewis last year. They've got a reason to win it again. And their forwards are solid, man. So for me, I know I've got the same team who came first last year and the same team who came last year. But there's a reason for that. You know, there's a reason the Panthers are favourite again. There's a reason the Tigers are favourites for the spoon. So, overall, guys, there's my season predictions. I know it's going to come a whole heap of criticism. There's going to be people who agree with my thoughts. But at the end of the day, it's my opinion. We'll see how we go. Go into the comment section. Let me know what your thoughts are. Obviously, hit that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here. I'll see you guys on the streams, baby, because we're going to be streaming every single game in... Well, actually not round 1 because I'll be at the Titans-Dragons game. Well, actually, not every round. But overall, you know me. We're always cracking on with streams here, son. So, like I said, subscribe. And I will see you guys tomorrow for another video. Alright, guys. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.